You don't deserve a single penny. We'll leave the house to your brother, Mother said. I smiled. Fine, then you can't count on me either. I left, and a month later the nightmare began, and they remembered me. And before we continue, please write which country you're watching this video from. Enjoy listening. Nadia hadn't been eagerly anticipating this birthday. 35, not 20. No special anniversary either, but still, deep down, a glimmer of hope for warm words, for attention from her closest loved ones, especially from her mother. The morning started as usual. Coffee, a quick shower, checking work emails. In the kitchen, Lyudmila Sergeyevna was already bustling, setting the table for the evening. Sasha, as always, slept until noon. Happy birthday, my daughter. Lyudmila Sergeyevna pecked Nadia on the cheek, not pausing in slicing the salad. We'll celebrate properly tonight. Celebrate. The word echoed in Nadia's mind. Yes, celebrate, as usual, with her money. She had long grown accustomed to being the breadwinner in the family. Her father had passed away several years ago, and all the responsibility for her mother and brother had fallen on her shoulders. She had a good salary, she didn't complain, but sometimes she just wished she could feel like a woman, not a pack horse. In the evening, they gathered at the table. Lyudmila Sergeyevna had cooked a lot. Sasha had finally deigned to wake up and had even put on a clean shirt. No gifts as usual. Well, she didn't expect any. All right then. Lyudmila Sergeyevna solemnly raised a glass of compote. To Nadia, may everything go well for you. You're so clever, such a hard worker. Nadia gave a weak smile. Stock phrases. She heard them every year. After the toast, Lyudmila Sergeyevna cleared her throat and looked at Nadia with a strange, guilty expression. Nadia, there's something, she began hesitantly. Sasha and I wanted to tell you. Sasha sat there smirking, looking at Nadia with a hint of superiority. This alerted her. Well, in short, Lyudmila Sergeyevna continued, we decided, well, not decided, it just happened. The house now belongs to Sasha. Nadia froze. Something in her head snapped. The house belongs to Sasha. The very house where she grew up, into which she had poured so much effort and money. What? She whispered, not believing her ears. Well, it just happened, Lyudmila Sergeyevna repeated, avoiding her gaze. You see, Sasha is having a difficult time right now. He needs to get established in life somehow, and you earn well yourself. You won't get anything. The house will go to Sasha. Her words echoed in Nadia's stunned mind. She looked at her mother, at her brother, and couldn't comprehend what was happening. How? How could they have done this to her? Fragments of memories flashed through her mind. How she started helping her parents with renovations right after college. How she paid off the car loan for her mother. How she transferred money for utilities every month. How she bought groceries, clothes, medicine. Always, always she had put her family's interests above her own. She remembered how several years ago, when a pipe burst and flooded the entire house, she, having not slept for several nights, ran to stores looking for the necessary materials, negotiated with plumbers, and oversaw the repairs. She had missed an important project at work and received a reprimand from her superiors, but she regretted nothing. It was her home, her family. And Sasha? Sasha, at that time, was playing computer games and complaining that he had nothing to wear to a disco. Now he sat sprawled in his chair, smirking. He knew. He knew about the transfer beforehand, and hadn't said a word. Nadia felt a wave of rage and resentment rising within her. She had been betrayed. Her closest people had betrayed her on an ordinary day, on her birthday. She silently got up from the table. All right, she said calmly, looking directly into her mother's eyes. If that's the case, then you can't count on me anymore. Lyudmila Sergeyevna tried to say something, to justify herself, but Nadia didn't listen. She turned and left the room. In the hallway, she put on her jacket and shoes. Nadia, where are you going? She heard her mother's voice. Where I'm appreciated, Nadia replied, opening the door. She walked out of the house, slamming the door so hard that the windows rattled. Outside it was cold and damp. Nadia walked along the sidewalk, not caring where she was going. Only one thought pulsed in her head. How could they? Reaching the nearest bus stop, she got on the first bus she saw. It didn't matter to her where it was going. She just needed to get away from this house, from these people, from this deceit and betrayal. All the way, she looked out the window at the flickering city lights, trying to process what had happened. She understood that her life had changed forever. Returning home late that evening, Nadia's first action was to take out her phone and transfer all her savings to a separate account, inaccessible to her mother and brother. She understood this was cruel, but she couldn't do otherwise. She needed to protect herself. Then she opened her laptop and started looking for apartment rental ads. She decided she no longer wanted to live in this house, to breathe the same air as these people. She needed her own personal space where she could feel safe. Finding a few suitable options, Nadia sent requests for viewings. Tomorrow, she would have to start a new life. She fell asleep with a heavy heart. Resentment and anger overwhelmed her, preventing sleep. She tossed and turned all night, replaying the events of the past day. She felt pain, hurt, and fear. Fear that the people closest to her turned out to be so distant and cruel. Fear that she would have to start everything from scratch. Silence. Silence descended upon Nadia after leaving her parents' home. A silence deafening after so many years of accustomed noise, arguments, requests, reproaches. The silence of a new rented apartment, smelling of fresh paint and someone else's life. She rented a small studio apartment on the outskirts of the city. Nothing special, but it was hers. No photos on the walls, no reminders of the past, just the minimum necessary furniture and a feeling of a blank slate. Nadia threw herself into work. Accounting, reports, numbers. In this chaos, she found a semblance of order, some support. She stayed late, trying not to think, not to feel. Every morning, waking up in the empty apartment, she felt a sharp pang of betrayal, but she pushed it away, forcing herself to move forward. She no longer transferred money to her mother, no longer paid the bills for the house, no longer bought groceries. Complete, absolute financial silence. For the first few days, she flinched at every phone call, expecting to hear her mother's voice, full of reproaches or excuses. But the phone remained silent. Sasha didn't call either. Nadia understood that they probably hoped she would reconsider, that she would crawl back herself, begging for forgiveness for her unheard-of audacity. But she wasn't going to. A month passed. A month of silence. A month of independent living. Nadia began to get used to the new routine, to the lonely evenings with a book and a cup of tea, to quiet weekends when she could do whatever she wanted without reporting to anyone. She even started to notice that she liked it. For the first time in a long time, she felt she was living for herself. One evening, as Nadia was finishing dinner, the phone rang. An unknown number. She hesitated before answering. "Hello," she said uncertainly. "Nadia, it's Mom." Lyudmila Sergeyevna's trembling voice came through the receiver. "Daughter, help!" Nadia went cold. She had expected this call, but now, as it came, she felt only irritation and weariness. "What happened?" she asked dryly, trying to keep herself in check. Sasha got into trouble." Her mother's voice broke. "He took out a loan." Nadia frowned. "Of course, Sasha. What else? A loan. Why?" "He said it was for business, that he was going to start his own venture." Lyudmila Sergeyevna sobbed into the phone. "But he lost it all." Nadia remained silent, waiting for the rest. She already knew what would follow. "He took out the loan against the house, Nadia," her mother sobbed. "And now the bank is threatening to take the house. We'll have nowhere to live." Nadia closed her eyes. There it was. Everything as she had predicted. "And what do you want me to do?" she asked indifferently. "Help us, daughter," Lyudmila Sergeyevna implored. "I beg you, save our house. Sasha, he's so foolish, he didn't understand what he was doing." "No, Mom," Nadia replied firmly. "I won't help you." "But Nadia," hysteria crept into her mother's voice, "we're your family. You can't abandon us." You abandoned me, Nadia reminded her coldly. When you transferred the house to Sasha, you thought about yourselves. Silence fell on the line. Nadia knew her mother couldn't answer that. I don't want to talk about it, Lyudmila Sergeyevna whispered. Just help us, please. We'll fix everything. No, Mom, Nadia repeated. I'm not going to fix your mistakes anymore. You have to bear responsibility for your actions yourselves. But where will we go? Her mother wailed. To the street. That's not my problem, Nadia cut her off. You made your choice. She hung up without waiting for a reply. Her hands trembled. Anger and resentment seethed in her chest. She knew she had acted cruelly, but she couldn't do otherwise. She would no longer allow herself to be used. All evening, Nadia couldn't calm down. She paced her apartment like a caged animal, repeatedly returning to her phone. Part of her wanted to break down, to call her mother and say she would help, that everything would be all right. But another part, stronger and firmer, held her back. The next morning, Nadia felt drained. She went to work like an automaton, trying not to think about yesterday's conversation. During her lunch break, she received a call from Igor, an acquaintance who was a lawyer at the bank, whom she sometimes consulted on work matters. Nadia, hi, he said in a cheerful voice. How are things? Hi, Igor, Nadia replied tiredly. Just so. Something happened? He asked. Nadia hesitated but decided to tell him about her conversation with her mother. She knew Igor was a smart and reasonable person, and she needed outside advice. After listening to her story, Igor was silent for a moment, then said, The situation, of course, is unpleasant, but there's a way out. What? Nadia asked hopefully. You can buy out the debt, Igor suggested. The bank will gladly agree to that. They just want their money back. Buy out the debt? Nadia repeated. But I don't have that kind of money. You had savings, Igor reminded her. Plus, you can take out a loan. In your case, the bank will approve it without problems. Nadia pondered. It was a risky step, but perhaps the only way to save the house. And then what? She asked. What will happen to my mother and brother? That's up to you, Igor replied. You can let them continue living in the house, or you can evict them. It's up to you, because the house will belong to you. Nadia remained silent, considering his words. It was a difficult choice. On the one hand, she wanted to get revenge, to kick them out onto the street, to make them feel what she felt. On the other hand, she couldn't imagine her mother and brother being homeless. Think carefully, Igor said. This is a serious decision, but if you decide to buy out the debt, I'll help you with all the paperwork. Thank you, Igor, Nadia replied. I'll think about it. Hanging up, Nadia looked out the window for a long time. Thoughts swarmed in her head. She understood this was her chance. A chance to regain control of the situation, a chance to set things right. But she also understood that this decision would forever change her relationship with her family. She had to make a choice between revenge and compassion, between justice and mercy, and this choice would determine her future life. Nadia sat in Igor's office, gazing at the aquarium with lazily swimming fish. Their unhurried movements seemed to her the embodiment of the calm she so desperately lacked. Outside, the city buzzed, but here, in the sterile silence of the bank, all problems seemed distant and solvable. Igor, as always, exuded confidence and professionalism. So, Nadia, as I understand it, the situation with the house requires an immediate solution, Igor began, setting aside some papers. His tone was even and businesslike as always. Nadia nodded. Mom called in hysterics. Sasha managed to mortgage the house and lost all the money. The bank is threatening to evict them. Nadia's voice sounded tired. She felt wrung out. Igor paused, considering the situation. There are several options. The simplest is to let the bank take the house. But judging by what you've told me, that's not what you want, even despite your resentment. Nadia sighed. You're right. I don't want them to end up on the street. But I'm not going to save them just like that. Then there's another option. Igor leaned forward slightly. You can buy out the debt from the bank. You will, in effect, become the creditor. And then? Then you can do as you see fit. Nadia frowned. What do you mean, as I see fit? It means you can have the house re-registered in your name. You'll pay off Sasha's debt, but in return, you'll demand that the house be transferred to you, legally and officially. Nadia pondered. The option was tempting. On the one hand, she was saving her family from inevitable disaster. On the other, she was gaining control of the situation, control she had lacked all these years. Igor, this sounds too good to be true, she said, looking at him incredulously. It's a legal way to solve the problem. The bank is interested in getting its money back, not in lawsuits. Your family is interested in not ending up on the street. You're interested in justice prevailing. Everyone wins. And Sasha, Nadia asked, will he agree to this? Igor shrugged. He has no choice. Either he agrees or he's left homeless. You can present it as a gesture of goodwill on your part, a rescue, so to speak. Nadia imagined Sasha's face when he found out the house now belonged to her. She smiled involuntarily. It would be fair after everything she had done for them. Okay, Nadia said, looking Igor firmly in the eyes. I agree. What do I need to do? Igor smiled. Excellent. I'll prepare all the necessary documents. You'll need to talk to your mother and brother, explain the situation to them, and convince them to sign all the papers. That's the hardest part. Igor was right. Convincing her mother and brother turned out to be incredibly difficult. Lyudmila Sergeyevna, as soon as she heard Nadia's offer, burst into tears and laments. Nadia, my darling, how could you? Are you really going to take our last possession away from us? Don't you understand that this is our home? Our history? Nadia listened to her silently, arms crossed. She no longer believed her tears and wailing. She knew it was just manipulation. Mom, you signed the papers yourself when you transferred the house to Sasha. You decided then that I wouldn't get anything. Now pay for your decisions, Nadia replied calmly. But Nadia, Sasha is your brother. You can't leave him on the street. I'm not leaving him. I'm offering you a solution. I'll pay off Sasha's debt, but in return, the house will become my property. You can continue to live in it, but you must understand that it's my house now, and I'll set the rules. Lyudmila Sergeyevna fell silent, considering Nadia's words. She understood they had no choice. If Nadia didn't help, they would be on the street. And Sasha? She asked hopefully, looking at her daughter. Will he agree? He has no choice, Nadia repeated Igor's words. Either he agrees, or he's left homeless. Sasha, upon hearing Nadia's offer, flew into a rage. Sasha raged. The room shook from his shouts, as if from a minor earthquake. You have no right! This is my house! He blustered, pointing his finger at Nadia, who stood calmly in the doorway, arms crossed. Rage contorted his face, making him look like a spoiled child, deprived of his favorite toy. Lyudmila Sergeyevna sat on the sofa, her head bowed like a naughty student. Her shoulders shook, but it was unclear if she was crying or simply trembling with fear. Your house, Sasha. Let's be honest. This house was never yours. You never lifted a finger to maintain it. All these years, who paid the bills? Who did the repairs? Who bought the food? You've lived here like a parasite, and now, when you've almost lost everything due to your foolishness, you dare to shout. Nadia spoke quietly, but her voice carried steel. Sasha tried to approach her, but Nadia took a step back. Don't come near me. I don't want to touch you. Lyudmila Sergeyevna raised her head. Her eyes held hope mixed with despair. Nadia, my darling, don't throw us out onto the street. Where will we go? Forgive Sasha, he stumbled. He'll mend his ways, I promise. Nadia looked at her mother. She saw in her eyes not only fear but also realization that she herself, with her blind love for her son, had led the situation to this point. Mom, I'm not going to kick you out, at least not yet, but everything will be different. No more loans, no more games. You and Sasha will live here, but by my rules. Sasha tried to object, but Nadia interrupted him with a gesture. Silence. You have no right to speak at all. You've proven that you can't be trusted with a single penny. You will do as I say, and if you don't like it, you can leave. But remember, you have nowhere to go. She took a sheet of paper from her bag and placed it on the table. This is the agreement. Read it carefully. If you agree, sign it. If not, pack your things." Silence fell in the room. Lyudmila Sergeyevna took the paper and began to read. Sasha stood there, frowning, as if not understanding what was happening. The conditions were simple and strict. Paying a portion of the utilities equally with Nadia. Order in the house. No scattered belongings, no dirt. Household chores. Lyudmila Sergeyevna would cook and clean. Sasha would do the heavy work around the house and yard. And most importantly, no alcohol and no gambling. Any violation would result in immediate eviction. "This is robbery," Sasha growled after reading the terms. "Do you want to turn us into slaves?" "No, Sasha. I want you to become responsible people," Nadia replied. "I want you to learn to appreciate what you have. I want you to stop being a child and start thinking about the future, and if you consider this slavery, then you simply don't understand what real life is." Lyudmila Sergeyevna silently signed the conditions. She understood they had no choice. She knew Nadia was right. She saw her son spiraling into an abyss and understood that only Nadia could stop him. Sasha hesitated for a long time, but eventually he also signed. He understood that Nadia was serious. He saw a determination in her eyes that he had never noticed before. He knew that if he didn't agree, he would be homeless. Nadia took the signed documents. "Good. Now you know the rules. And remember, I haven't forgotten what you did, but I'm giving you a chance to redeem yourselves, a chance to prove you can be better." Leaving the house, Nadia took a deep breath. The air felt clean and fresh. She looked at the house. It was no longer a symbol of betrayal and pain. Now it was her home, her fortress, her chance to build a new life. She got into her car and drove to her apartment. Silence and peace awaited her there. There she could be herself. There she could think about the future. In the evening, Igor called her. "How did it go?" he asked. "Difficult but fair," Nadia replied. "I knew you would handle it," Igor said. "You're a strong woman, Nadia, and you deserve happiness." "Thank you, Igor," Nadia replied. "You helped me a lot." "I'll always be here if you need my help," Igor said. "And remember, you're not alone. You have friends, you have a job, you have a future." Nadia smiled. She knew Igor was right. She wasn't alone, and the future no longer scared her. Yes, she had gone through pain and betrayal, but she had become stronger. She had learned to protect herself and learned to value herself. Nadia gave her family a chance to atone, a chance to become better. And she hoped they would take it. But if not, she would be ready to let them go. Because now she knew that her happiness depended only on herself. In the first week after the new rules were established, Nadia arrived at the house with some apprehension. She didn't know what to expect. Would she see remorse and change, or would she be met with the same selfishness and malice? When she entered the house, she was greeted by an unusual silence. The residence was remarkably tidy, a sight that caused a moment of astonishment. Lyudmila Sergeyevna was occupied in the kitchen, preparing an evening meal. Sasha occupied a chair at the table, feigning engagement with a book. "Welcome, Nadia," Lyudmila Sergeyevna greeted, her voice carefully modulated. "How have you been?" "Everything is fine, mother," Nadia replied, inquiring. "And how are things with you?" "We're making an effort," Lyudmila Sergeyevna responded, adding, "Sasha has been assisting around the house." Nadia observed Sasha. He was actively avoiding her gaze. "Is that true, Sasha?" she questioned. Sasha offered a muffled, indistinct response. "Show me what you've accomplished," Nadia instructed. Reluctantly, Sasha rose and led Nadia to the backyard. There, he displayed the split logs and the meticulously weeded garden beds. Nadia was genuinely pleased by what she saw, recognizing Sasha's sincere efforts. However, she also understood this was merely a starting point. "Excellent work, Sasha," Nadia said. "Keep up this positive momentum. And remember, this is not just for me, it's for your own benefit as well." She returned to the house and rejoined Lyudmila Sergeyevna at the table. "Mother, I want you to understand that my actions are not motivated by anger," Nadia stated. "My intentions stem from love for you all and a desire for your happiness." Lyudmila Sergeyevna's eyes welled up with tears. I understand, my dear daughter, she whispered. I recognize our past mistakes, and I deeply regret them. Nadia embraced her mother. Everything will be all right, mother, she assured her. We will navigate this together. In that instant, Nadia sensed a thaw in the emotional distance between them. She realized her family deserved another opportunity, and she was prepared to grant it. Yet she also acknowledged that the road ahead would be protracted and demanding. Nevertheless, she felt ready, empowered by her inner strength, her resolve, and the glimmer of hope. These, she understood, were all she truly required. M.